Welcome to Abaketone Borike, and I will first review the most important points with you guys. I recently published an ebook story on Amazon. It's a series, and chapter 1 of The Fire of Aman is already available in Kindle for Amazon. I had published my book or ebook around June. The ebook itself says June 3 in the end, I think. Link in the description below. The indigenous Borícua had lost Martín Casiva Opil a few years ago, but Martín, as my tequina, or has been a teacher for me for maybe over a decade, was already going to have an appearance in my story as a character that would be based off of him. But then again, I have many people from my own indigenous Borícua circle within my story. And then we got hit with the news that an indigenous activist, Guatu Santana, had lost his life in a tragic accident. I am very sad. However, all this time for years, he was already a character within my story. He is an Arawak warrior named Guatu. He fights for the Arawak against the Spanish. He is a Guarinara in my story. Guarinara are warriors with special abilities. But he is also a Hupi, which is the literal Puerto Rican equivalent of a Nahual and a spirit animal persona. Guatu is a rigid character that is able to harness the power of a wolf, but he is also able to transform entirely into a really big one with amplified statistics. So he is a good person in my story. In fact, in my story, Guatu saved over 1,000 people and much more. But he is an antagonist to the protagonist. This doesn't mean he is bad or evil. He is good. But he just goes against the protagonist, or otherwise it could be for competitive reasons, which is understandable. But he is not a villain. He is just an antagonist. Good people within stories can also have an antagonist role. And like I said, in this one, it may be driven by competition. Link to my story, the ebook, The Fire of Aman, chapter 1, in the description down below. An indigenous Borícua inspired story of the 16th century Boriquén, Puerto Rico. The other thing is, I saw the news of Guatu's story, and the comments were really bad. As in, we should be more empathic and understanding. So this terrible thing happened to him, and people in the comments were saying that they didn't feel bad, and things such as that he looked for that situation all by himself. But I say slip into his shoes and his family's shoes, and even you wouldn't want this to happen to you. Here, part 1 and part 2 of me talking about his situation and why he is important to the indigenous community. In short, he is important to the indigenous community just as anybody would speak Taino or speak Taino or practice the indigenous culture of Boriquén would be important and valuable to the indigenous Puerto Rican community because this preserves the Taino Arawak culture. Also, I met him when we both didn't know that we practice also the language, the Taino language, and that we both are enthusiasts onto the Taino culture. I just met him and we met as regular people. Then, when we met each other on social media, we then realized we both shared Taino language and heritage in common. He was totally affiliated into Guatua Macu, while I was affiliated to the Indigenous organization only online over a decade ago.